appropriate sections effective thereby. Ken, I believe you introduced this.
Right. I just want to give this a first reading. I don't want to put the city in a position where you have 5 council members and you could have 3 council members join together and basically run the city. I think the mayor wrote a very effective memo about the 3-3 ties and how he's been able to effectively break those 3-3 ties that resulted in good things for the city. Would you agree with that, Don?
Yes.
And
well, the only problem with that is, you guys were talking about the ties. When you have an odd amount, he won't need to make the ties.
I know that, but what I'm saying is I think the mayor needs to be involved and have a vote in the governance of the city where there's an impasse like that. And what I'm saying is that historically the city has thrived with 6 council members. So I'm very, very concerned that if
3 is the tie, right? 3 is the number of people that if it was 5 total, if you had 3 people that perhaps would do something for maybe not the right reason, they could control something negatively. Whereas you can have a council right now that's undecided and it can be fairly broken.
You know, I guess my problem is that this is kind of a, I don't want to use the word slap in the face, but I guess I just did, to the Charter Review Commission.
And
the residents of Macedonia, we voted on this.
Yeah, we voted on it in 2009.
Yep.
And it's
This, and I wasn't even worried. Now, I don't have a problem discussing things, because maybe there's some tweaks that need to be made. I mean, I guess if anything, I would say move it to 7 so that we have that on amount. And it's nothing against you as the mayor. You're the executive, we're the legislative body, and I don't like the overlapping of the 2. And actually, I should be all for it, because I think you've probably broken ties, things that I've agreed with. I just don't know that, you know, you're always looking down the road. It doesn't matter who sits in that seat. I think that you need to keep council legislative and the mayor the executive. That's just my personal belief.
2 of the examples that I gave in the memo that Ken is talking about is we would have neither bridge, neither, if I hadn't broken it.
Exactly.
But see, we don't know what would happen, because we would have, here's what defeats that example is, let's just say that one of those no votes wasn't on council. You wouldn't have had the break, because the bridge would have been put through. We don't know what would have happened, you know what I mean? If we're worried about not having enough representation for the people or something, let's ask the city, let's ask the residents, let's give, you want a 7th member? We've already, at least the people have spoken on this. Let's give it a chance and say, let's give it a chance. If it's not working, then we got to come back and say, hey, this isn't working, we need help.
Well,
Right.
All right,
great
Jim.
point, but Mayor, I'm sorry to interrupt, but Charter Review, I mean, this is something that's great. I know we've talked about doing that again. I think it's a great time to do it, because it's the beginning of the year. Maybe we ought to bring that to them.
It's due to 14.
Oh,
It's due
sorry.
in 2014.
Well, 2014. Can we bump that a year early?
I tried.
You cannot
You
do
do,
it?
I suppose you can do anything you want, but it
Well-
is a cumbersome kind of.
Well, here's the thing, and Nick's got a good point, is that sometimes I think we may wait on things that are a good idea. It doesn't mean we can't, right here's a charter amendment. We've got an example that we can bring a charter amendment. If you have something next week that you think is a good thing to do to the charter, we can do it. We don't have to convene the commission. I think that by waiting this 5 years, we always think, can't do it, and then you forget the good idea 3 years down the road. So I think Mike's even had one with the city manager. It's a charter thing. Bring it to the table, we'll discuss it. I think that we should discuss anything.
The question for the sake of debate
Yes.
is, should administration and legislative be separated? Well, there are strong points that say yes, because let me administrate, you legislate, all right? But let's just think about this and consider this. If the mayor is looking at a piece of legislation as to what it can do for economic development and what it can do for the value of the property in the city, and perhaps politically people don't agree with the mayor because he's the mayor they can actually stop something from happening. You're talking about the 82 bridge having 3 no votes. 3 people actually voted no. Now today, go out there and put that 82 bridge back. There was a situation that, what was it about? Was it about what's best for the city? Was it about politics? What was it about?
I get that, and I think that is a great example, but I guess my point is once you get to those types of roadblocks to the city growing, we answered the ballot box. Hopefully the people will say, you know what, we needed that bridge, you're gone. That's, and I know you don't want to just throw away something, that, you know, that's a 112-year, was 112 years old by the time we replaced it, something like that?
105 years old.
That's the result, that's why we have ballot boxes.
But for the debate, for this, you just
No, this is
for
awesome.
debating.
This is great.
All right, if that bridge wouldn't have been built, and if a council wouldn't agree to it, and if the legislation wouldn't have been enacted, that bridge would have never, ever, ever happened. Because
We don't know
where do
that.
you get road taxes today?
Well, we don't know.
I don't need any input, you know, from the residents. This is a debate between me and a council person, so I don't appreciate being interrupted. If you wouldn't have done that at that time, I don't know that. Yes, I do, because already I've been denied monies that were promised us for South Bedford Road. So I know that this can happen, and I know if I can't get money for South Bedford Road, which is less than $1 million, where would I get 13 million?
And I don't disagree with you, but we're trying to prove a negative. We don't know what the political atmosphere will be in Washington DC in 4 years. We don't.
And
that's
that's
my
not,
point.
yeah, that's your point, and my point is not, I don't wanna confuse it with that.
No,
But
you're
I'm
saying-
saying that very much, sometimes the administration feels about certain legislation that you have before you, this is very important, this needs to pass,
But the problem is, if
and doesn't have a say.
I understand what you're saying, but I guess your example would hold a lot more credibility with me if the bridge didn't get built. I'd be like, you know what, you're right, we need to build that bridge. But you know what, the point is that we all got the bridge built. It got built. Now, we went to the people and we stated our case here with the rec commission. We stated our case out there on the floor. I don't know that there was any type of campaign for the charter amendments, but we put this before our residents and said, hey, what do you guys think about this? And they said, hey, we think it's a good idea, and I think we should at least let their consent, the consent of the governed, play out.
And that's all well and good, but it would not be like, when the Charter Commission recommends something, I think one of the only charter commissions that got everything they recommended, and I'm very proud to have been on it, and Chuck Kozelka was on it, and Jan Tully back in those days. But usually, when a Charter Commission recommends something, it doesn't always go all the way to the ballot. So it's not like we're slapping them in the face. We're just trying to determine at this time, right now, before it's too late, Mr. Martin has brought up something for debate, and there's pros and cons.
And I don't want to inflame the situation. I get it. It's very easy for me to sit up here and preach because I'm walking away in November. I just don't want it to be, there's 3 seats up in November. Do we want to change it so we have 4 seats? I don't want that appearance out there. I mean, if that's the case, let's make it 7 people.
Okay, let me say this though. And the reason I voted against this originally was because of some of the items that the mayor presented, because sometimes the administration has more vision than council. And sometimes you need that vision. And then secondly, I felt that taking the council from 6 to 5 limited a person's participation in city government, because you're taking 1 council seat away. You should have, traditionally we've had 6 council people, and I'd rather have more people have the opportunity to be on council.
Then I'll make an amendment to bring it to 7 and we'll put that in front of voters.
That'd be interesting.
I have to say one thing.
Yes.
Without the mayor that we had, and the council that we had, we would not have that bridge.
It's true.
And that's a fact. That needs to be said more often. Thank you.
Well, that was real nice, you. I'll tell you what, there's some things that all the way along those lines, and drawing that line between administration and legislation, okay, here's something for you to consider, just consider this. If we wanna draw that line very, very clearly, and you're not gonna go forward with this and go forward with what you have, I'm fine with it, all right? But then the administration should administrate, and the council should legislate, all right? Right.
And you're right, and sometimes we certainly overstep our bounds. I agree with you 100%. I know where you're going, maybe I interrupted.
Yeah, yeah.
But you're right, we will sometimes step and say, well, and no, there needs to be a line between us and administration. I agree, and actually, I think you may have broke the tie on this and voted to put it on the ballot, I
Yeah,
think.
it could have been.
The funny thing about this is I've had this conversation 100 times about administrator, legislators. Now, if a resident calls and there's or an administrative problem, you know, problem with the department, of course we'll listen, of course we'll try to help facilitate that, calling you.
Right, but we asked him to
the-
do it.
That is the path that everyone sitting at this table should take.
Right.
Unfortunately,
Or the fire
we
department.
find ourselves caught in this trap now where we're trying to solve administrative problems, and really, we'll try and help you, I'll work with you, but that's on you.
And you know what? You never seen me run away
No,
from it.
and you've always been very good about that, and I will say that any problem I've brought to you, you've at least tried to help. It may not have been the response that I wanted or the resident wanted, but you at least made an effort, and that's all I can
Yeah,
ask
it
for.
just didn't get swept under it, but consider this. Right now, we're going through this big transition period. This is some tough times, because we have some open positions, we have some other positions coming open. You know, if council would say, okay, Mayor, fix this. Boy, I'll tell you, there's some things I would do administratively as far as personnel that could give you the best running city you would ever do. But right now, when it comes to filling some of those positions, I have received input already from council people saying, I hope you do this, or I hope you do that, and you know what? I do it, because you asked me.
And I've been guilty of that too, but I guess just because I give you my opinion doesn't, there's no way that I can stop you from
Oh,
doing
yes,
it.
you can.
Withhold money from you?
No, you would vote no when I bring that person before you. You see?
It's obvious that both of us, both bodies overstep where I think
Yeah.
that there needs to be the line drawn.
So we're
I mean,
drawing a
Ken-
line
Ken's-
here as far as legislative and administrative, but if that line continued right on down the line, then the next charter commission should be making recommendations, not that council can determine who the mayor hires. It took 3 months for me to hire my personal administrative assistant.
There's a long, and you're right, I mean,
3 months.
council's probably more guilty of that. And it's not that you're guilty, but by charter, you have to break the tie. By putting the mayor back into breaking the tie, but again, it's not as defined line as it could be. Now, Ken's point about having enough people to represent us, I mean, I think that's a good idea. Let's put it at 7, and then we still have the odd out, and we have one more voice for the people up here.
First reading.
Charters are
First
set
reading.
up in cities though for a reason, so that it's just the way it is.
Yes, but
It's not a township, it's not a
charter
village.
is reviewed every
I know,
5
and
years,
we were
Rita,
gonna-
and
I know,
recommendations
We were
are
talking about
made.
that, and this is the year that I think that we're gonna be having, I think all of council get to find somebody to be on there.
This
Right.
next year.
It's
Next,
next
it's
year.
next year,
It's
and the
2024.
charter commission constantly changes the charter in order to keep things up to snuff, you know, like
But
with
now, do
not
all of
only.
us council members get to pick somebody to be on this?
Yes,
So we each get one person to
Okay.
represent you.
All right,
with the
Alright.
exception of the person that is the council appointment.
Yeah.
I was the council appointment, so I picked myself to be
Okay,
an
all right.
charter. And Josephine was the biggest help. She's got all that information packed in there somehow.
Right.
She got us all through it. I don't know how you do that. But you do, so thank you.
Let's move
If I
on,
may,
maybe.
so we can get going here, the
First reading, and we're done with that,
first
Ken
reading
will
at
make it.
7. Other motions, authorizing
Mr.
the
B.
police chief to accept on behalf of Macedonia the amount of $100 from LZ Duty. Mike, you don't have anyone to take that one?
Sure.
This lady does this every year, I'm sure you're aware of that.
Yes. Then a donation
Who's
of,
doing number 7?
And
Ben,
it
It's,
says a Wii PlayStation, but that's two different things.
well, that's, chief, I thought that's what he said. Oh,
Well,
I think
revisit
they
Just
bought-
say
I think
we.
they bought both, and then the money exceeded what they had, so they kicked in the rest of the fire department.
so we and PlayStation, is that what
Yeah.
you're saying it should be? Okay.
Well, I just want to be clear.
No, it's a scratch writing, so it's
No, it's very
valued at
clear what you
100.
said, but I want to make sure that it was,
It's, I think he said valued at $130 for the senior center from the Macedonia Firefighters Association.
Oh, okay.
I will take that one.
All right,
Where did you see that?
in right
It isn't
line
on
with
there.
that, and I have 30 seconds or
You
so.
got
You
4
can look
minutes.
all you want.
Okay, let me just say that while we're on the subject of the donations, the senior community room, where does the senior community room stand? Right now, we have one TV down there, we have our coffee maker, we have our microwave. We are in the process of, we were in the holidays. Being in the holidays, we didn't get the TVs bought, we didn't get the stuff set up like,
you're waiting to get them on sale.
well, actually, that's true. Okay, so, this month in the paper, it said that the mayor's looking for this month for the community room to be finished. Well, it's going to be, it's ready to go right now, and seniors are invited, but they're hardly using it. We, once in a while, have a couple of people come in. So we're trying to get more people to come. Next week, we have a silver dome.